think. Hello, everybody. We are there. There's the music. Cue the maestro. It is Wednesday, May 18th. We're over the halfway mark of May, the big old month of May, and Memorial Day weekend and primary season here in fact, as this airs today,
yes,
primaries are over. Now we will
know the winners.
Full disclosure. We record this on Monday night, so this is one of the times we're going to miss out on a current event. But I'm sure we'll be loaded for bear next week and probably laughing about some things too, especially Cawthorn's race. So how you doing? This is, I guess I should introduce the show. It's Coffee Pan Dulce, and we are live the third Wednesday of the month.
Well, Jenny, how are you? That was a great explanation. Yes, so we will know when this airs on Wednesday. We will know the winners of a lot of the races. I don't think there'll be any runoffs, but we will we'll know that there may be one in the Senate race. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. We'll talk about that. So anyway, yeah, that'd be really interesting. All right. So as Jenny said, welcome everyone to Coffee Pan Dulce. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, along with Jenny Gunn, Barb Bacon, Mama Ruth. We also have our silent host, St. Bernie, and baby Trump Pinata that will be leaving us after we kind of go around. And today is May the 18th. Wow, almost Memorial Day. Everything keeps going. Wow. It's going by fast, and as you know, we'll be celebrating July 4th here very, very soon. But thank you to those who are joining us on Facebook Live, but also those who join us on YouTube and Facebook later, and also those who listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform, like all of them, and Spotify. So, all right. So with that said, I'm going to do it until, we'll see what happens.
Until the joke's not funny anymore.
That's right. And it's probably not funny anyway. So
it never was. But it's okay.
Okay. So let's go around the Birdie Butt screen. Introduce yourself and any causes or imaginary buttons, and we will start with Jenny and Barb.
Hello, everybody. I am Jenny Gunn. I am a board member of the National Organization for Women, Charlotte, the oldest North American organization for women and feminism. I am also a part of the Charlotte Pride team. In fact, we just had our film festival last weekend, and it was super successful. We set a record number of ticket sales. Oh. And I mean, obviously, when you take 2 years off, people miss you. They were super excited, and I think people are going to take life for less granted. And I do a lot of other advocacies, and I also sit on the community resources the Community Resource Committee. I'm still getting used to seeing that, aka the CRC, and do many other things. Barb?
Hi, I'm Barb Bacon, and I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. And I guess we'll have to talk about my favorite button, gun control, gun sense, something. This is just, I'm on a ban from news, and everybody that talked to me said, did you hear about Buffalo? And I'm like, oh my God. So very, very bad. But that's my button, and I'm continue to do my advocacy work, and it's going to be 90 tomorrow.
Yeah. This week?
We don't have spring. What happened to it?
we had a spring. It just went by so fast. So the days of here we're all three of us are in Charlotte, North Carolina. So when we're talking about spring, we actually have beautiful weather here, and it is starting to warm up. But what's so funny is, Barb, you've lived in Texas, and so is Jenny's from Texas. I'm from Texas. My Ruth is from Texas. It's so funny that we live here in Charlotte, and it gets 90 degrees, and we say how hot it is. Not us, but other people. And we're like, hot? Texas is going through a heat wave where they're actually having power outages.
Gee, I wonder why that's happening. And you're still going to vote for Governor Abbott? Shame on you.
Yes.
They never have power outages down there.
What do you call it, Jen? What is it? West Afghanistan? So
I used to call it that, but I realized I was insulting Afghanistan. I mean,
that first summer that I lived there, my neighbor was telling me how hot it was, and I only had one little itty bitty sidewalk, and she said, oh, it gets so hot here you can fry an egg. So I went in my kitchen, got an egg, and threw it, and it actually took it. I couldn't believe it. It was screaming hot.
It's uncomfortable.
It was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get used to it. Everyone says you get used to it. You don't really ever get used to it. You
don't
just
think you do.
tolerate it. So,
I love it.
all right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so let's go ahead and salute to our neighbors, whatever you're drinking this morning. Salute. And then also we want to make sure that we thank our Pan Dulce sponsor and supplier, Manolo's Bakery. Manolo's Bakery here in Charlotte, North Carolina. There's your bacon pig.
Okay.
Yep, there you go. Manolo's Bakery here in Charlotte, North Carolina on Central Avenue. Please visit your Black and Brown small businesses and always buy local, buy local. So actually Manolo has actually been in Poland. He's been helping out with some of the relief, Ukrainian relief. And so, I saw he's been there. So, all right. So with that said, let's go ahead. Let's talk about our 3 current events. Oh, what's today's topic? Today's topic is inflation good for employment and economy. We'll be talking about inflation. I'm sure many other things as well, but that's what we're supposed to be talking about. So let's do our 3 current events. Follow what Barb had said. As many of you know by now, or you should know, there was another mass shooting this weekend on Saturday, I believe. It was in Buffalo. Is that right?
There's 4 of them to get total.
Oh, wow.
What?
Wow. Yeah, you're right. One California, and so there were 4 mass, but the one I guess they're all terrible, but the ones people talk about, Buffalo, and apparently it was a young man, 20 years old, and he was a white supremacist. And so, if you want to comment on that, also there's been a new abortion polling just came out, and I'm sure everyone has an idea. It's like 67% or it's in the 70s. 70-something percent of Americans believe that abortion should not have restrictions. And of course, it depends on the party, but even Republicans, it's over 50% Republicans believe. So this is this is what they say is this was higher than equality marriage polling when all that was coming out. So that's kind of interesting. The last one is those of us who live in North Carolina, there's a really important Senate race going on, but on the Republican side, Ted Budd, who's the President 45's nominee, and then our former governor, Pat McCrory, they're running and they're attacking each other. Well, they've been attacking each other all through this primary. And Sherry Beasley, the leading Democratic candidate, she was our former Chief Justice. She's been running ads that have just been very positive. Well, this week, the RNCC, the Republican Senate, whatever they are, they started releasing negative ads towards her. They haven't even decided who their Republican person's going to be, but they know apparently she must be doing well because of all their attack ads to each other. And so they want to attack her. And if you want to comment on that. So let's start with you, Jen. I don't know if you want to comment on any of those. I'm sure you do.
Well, first of all, I'll start with the easiest one. Future Senator Sherry Beasley is going to roll either one of those idiots, and then they can go back to their village because they're missing them. As far as the polling for reproductive rights and human rights and abortion access, it's a freaking no-brainer. I mean, it's not freaking 1619. I mean, we're not the friggin' Amish. I mean, fetuses are attached to the host, and you can do whatever you want with your body. That fetus is part of the host body. It's as simple as that. And as long as it's not viable, you're not killing anything. It's a clump of cells. And until it's birthed, that's why they call it a live birth certificate for y'all that flunked 8th grade bioscience, which is most of the Republican Party. Okay. Most of all, there's no doubt that people support it because it's a no-brainer. It's been a no-brainer for 50 years. It's been the high law of the land. What was the third one?
RNC.
The attack ads. Oh, the attack. I already talked about that.
You did? Okay. Then it was Buffalo shooting. I'm sorry.
Oh, the shootings. Yeah. I mean, we're going to see more of this. For one, with all the people protesting the future abortion ruling that seems imminent, they're going to send. There's already reports of mass gatherings, an organization of Proud Boys up in Raleigh, They were scoping out the area for the women's march that was yesterday. With their making crazy QAnon claims of that we're taking people from the third world and bringing them into the country just to replace white voters, and race baiting, and just saying, just, if you have a half a brain, you ain't gonna believe it. But you take people that aren't the sharpest tool in the shed, like this 20-year-old scumbag in Buffalo, for example, that I hope they drop in the ocean head first from 20,000 feet. And he goes out and he shoots people because they sit there and they spin lines about fear mongering, and white people are going to be this and white people are going to be that. And it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. And then we hand out guns like it's Halloween candy. I mean, it's harder to get Halloween candy than it is to get guns anymore. I mean, it's almost like they're just setting us up to fail, because they probably are. And when you work for Putin that long, obviously Putin supports the NRA, funds the NRA, and our enemies, our competition is just got to be laughing at us that we aren't smart enough to regulate a product like guns. We regulate abortion, we regulate trans people. But I guess in my transition, I just need to attach some bullets to my skin or something. They won't bother us anymore.
Okay, that's a lot. Barb?
I have a quick question. What state just had their law overruled about anybody under 21 can't buy an assault rifle?
California.
It was California. Okay.
California.
Here we go. So guns. This Buffalo thing, he heard that he's a white supremacist. And why did he go shoot people? Do we know why he did it? He didn't kill himself.
Well, he went down the list. No, and surprisingly, the cops didn't shoot him either.
Hey, you're taking my. Hold on, Jen. Let's let her finish. You're taking my lines.
You could have saved us some money. Oh no.
Go ahead, Barb. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So you get in your car and you drive for hours. He couldn't shoot people in his own neighborhood or his own state. I don't get it. Why did he have to get in a car and go to Buffalo?
I'll tell you what. Okay. How about the abortion polling or RNC?
You think with the price of gas? I mean, I'm just kidding, but
that's a good line.
I'm trying to make something funny here. It's not.
That is a good one, Barb.
Beyond setting. So all right. So what was the other?
Abortion polling and RNC.
Good for abortion polling. I don't know what good it's going to do, because I think they're still going to just do the easy thing and put it state by state, which is just really a cop-out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
Okay. How about do you have any comments on the RNC attacking Justice Beasley here in North Carolina?
Well, you've got one pistol packing guy that every time I have to I have to change the channel. I can't even watch it.
Yeah.
And then you've got good old Pat, just up there.
That's Jenny's favorite person.
Not my favorite person either. So, boy, there's a real choice on the big R side. So of course they're going to have to go against a black woman that's talking sense.
Yeah.
I just stooping to new levels. I don't even know. I'm just praying to God she wins.
Well, okay. So me real quickly, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back to Jenny, because I know she has rebuttals on what we're saying here. So the Buffalo shooting. So what had happened was, what we know right now. Just to let you know, Barb and Jenny, you can interrupt me on this one if this is wrong. Apparently, this young man was searching for a black neighborhood to go and do this, and he drove 200 miles from his town in New York to Buffalo. Drove 200 miles to go to this specific grocery store that was in a black neighborhood, because he wanted to do harm to black people, because he believes in the that crazy theory. What is it called, Jen? Replacement theory. replacement theory. And so that's one, the abortion polling, that's really, really high. The reason I think, I agree with you, Barb, the Supreme Court, they're going to do whatever they want to. But I think this is important because I think this summer, I hope that people will say, hey, this has gone too far. This is too much. And then the RNC attacking Justice Beasley, it shows how afraid they are of her, that they're attacking her even before they even have a nominee.
Yeah.
But they're using kind of, if you've seen the commercial, they're using kind of like dog whistle in North Carolina, kind of dog whistle stuff. It's got her and it's got like the black and white screen. It's a black woman, and that she let these pedophiles out, or, these child molesters. And it is really,
I haven't seen it.
Well, when you see it, you will go,
my mouth will go.
It's them. It's typical them. So anywho, so those are the three. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. And Jenny, I want you to rebuttal on some of those because I know I can see that mind turning. All right, so let's take a break. We'll be right back on Coffee Pan Dulce. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee Pan Dulce. We'll dance out. Well, welcome back, everyone. And so, Jenny, go ahead before we go to our topic. What do you?
Well, maybe we should have known with all the racist attacks they did on Supreme Court Justice Brown and during her confirmation hearings that Justice Beasley was going to see those same. They practiced those attacks on her to use on candidates like Justice Beasley, because they have nothing else to attack on. She's an accomplished woman. She's won a statewide office, former Supreme Court Chief Justice of North Carolina, phenomenal resume, phenomenal intellect, woman of color. She is just exactly what North Carolina needs, which is why Republicans don't want it, because God forbid we actually have an effective senator in the state that doesn't live off bribes or is a trash can head thief. But we may actually restore our national reputation. Oh my gosh, let's elect somebody with brains. The shooter and all the manifestos, and we're going to talk about more on the two queers, but he sprinkled in some anti-Semitism and some other things, and just stuff out there. But who has been saying this is people like Tucker Carlson.
Exactly.
After the El Paso shooting in 2019, he said some of this replacement theory stuff. In fact, he's probably one of the originators of it. You got MTG spouting, anti-Semitism and racism and, fake shootings and stuff like this. These people are so married.
Ballot, right?
Pardon me?
MTG.
Ballot, right?
Yeah, she was never taken off. Yeah.
Oh, I thought she was.
Well, that's what but she's on the ballot.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
so what was that, Jen?
But the reality is that instead of protecting real human rights, we're obsessed with, protecting guns that are inanimate objects. We're trying to protect. They're trying to protect the unborn because they can't speak for themselves, even though they're not citizens. But we screw the citizens, screw the voters, screw everybody. They're going all in on every crackpot theory they can dream up and make up and all that, and it's just gotten to the point where I don't even know if you can even call them a political party anymore. It's just got to that point.
It's a party of some sort. I just can't put a name to it.
Well,
not on air.
We actually today we released our I think we're going to have to change it. We released our summer topics, and I think one of them we should do it on replacement theory. We should talk about that, how it started, because my understanding is there's this replacement theory that's been going around. This is not something new. this is something that was like in the 20s and 30s and in the 50s and the 60s with they said that about the Italian Americans. They were coming here to, the Democrats were taking, or one party was wanted all these immigrants to come in so they could have more voters. And, and what's that huge movie that came out several years ago with the New York gangs, the Irish.
Gangs in New York?
Yeah, Gangs in New York. That was kind of based on that. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was like a replacement theory kind of movie. Anyway, so yeah, I agree with you, Jeff.
This whole rote of anti-Semitism, homosexuality, racism, all this comes from the same space.
Yeah.
When they're getting their butt kicked in elections, just like, Hitler, got on a rooftop and did this, Putin does this, any dictator does this, any authoritarian group, is they always get you scared about foreigners. They get you scared about people that live differently, look differently, love differently. And it's just, this is as old as time itself.
Exactly.
It's part and parcel, Christianity itself, because Christianity lends itself to this kind of stuff. And
are you making fun of me?
No, Christianity, not Christian. Yeah, I mean, but I can make fun of you too. I'll say that for the next show.
Okay. Okay, Jay.
What we pay for.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're right. And what you were going to say earlier, and I'm just going to throw this out there because that's what we do on this show, is it's not lost on all of us that these young white guys can kill people and surrender and be taken away. And I don't know any person of color that would survive something like that.
No, they'd shoot him.
Oh, yeah. No. You can't even get a cell phone if you're black. If the cops stop you hold up a cell phone, they'll draw down on you. I mean, if you have anything in your hand, well, you don't have to have anything in your hand. Obviously, George Floyd proved that. But definitely, if you got anything in your hand and any white person has been scared by you, imagined or not, they're going to draw down on you. And whereas they take these white shooters, these young shooters, and take them by Burger King, go get them a massage, some mimosas, hang out for a while. Hey, you want to catch a movie real quick? I heard there's something good playing. And then finally process them in the jail 8 or 9 hours later.
So, Jenny, when you say that, I think most people think we're kind of joking about that. We have to remind people, the shooter at the Emmanuel Church in Charleston, was that where it was? Is that correct? In South Carolina? The shooter was arrested in North Carolina. When he was arrested, he was taken to get burgers before he went to jail. So when we joke, or when people joke about that, we're not, that actually is what happened. He was hungry. And that is just, anyway, all right. So that's one of our many shows, and I'm sure Jenny will be talking about that. So before we take our middle break, let's go ahead and let's introduce our topic. Inflation, good for employment and economy. So as I always do on this show, we did invite someone on the show, and he was actually one of the guests that was a guest of the 20s, the Roaring 20s. He's with the Small Business Association. I actually invited him on the show, and he actually was going to be on it, but he just won an award. He won the SBA, Small Business Association Person of the Year Award, and he's in Washington. He's doing stuff all this week with the SBA. So congratulations. Michael is his name. I forget his last name, but Michael, he was on our show, and he runs the Small Business Association for the Charlotte region, and he won this wonderful, great award. So hopefully we'll have him on another topic, but because I wanted to kind of hear his point of view. But so this is what I did, the Google machine. Is inflation good or bad? Forbes did an article September 16th on 2021, and they said it depends on your situation. If you owe money, inflation can be good. If you're a person who money is owed to, it is not a good thing. So it really depends on who you are and your circumstance. And I think we can all agree it also depends on how much money dispensable income you have. So if you are making X amount of money and something goes up from 99 cents to $1.25, it doesn't probably impact you as much as someone who is living paycheck to paycheck, maybe making, less than a living wage. And then when things go up, it really impacts you. You have less money to spend, and so forth. So what is your thoughts about, is inflation good or bad? And I'll tell you what I think from my bougie perspective.
Well, first of all, we have to call this current inflationary status what it really is, which is price gouging.
Yeah.
When you have record amounts of profits during a global pandemic, like the last 2 years, and you're raising prices left and right for absolutely no reason. There was no reason for, I don't know, like Amazon to raise their prices for their little membership so they can sell to you. I mean, let's be very realistic about this. The auto industry and the housing industry are the leading indicators of this inflationary market right now. But they've been gouging and cornering the market slowly but surely in these large investors, which has caused double-digit price increases for about a decade since we recovered from the last housing crash. The auto industry has been gouging people too the last couple of years and using the excuse of the microchips in the cars are becoming scarce, which is a crock and not true. But anyway, would you pitch this and of course the oil prices going up is really inflaming people because again people will go to a brewery and drink an $8 beer but can't pay $1 more a gallon for gas, but they'll spend $70 at the bar for absolutely no reason whatsoever. But to get to work they complain about the extra $4 it took them to get to work for that 5-mile drive. And it blows me away. We've had low to almost stagflation for about 8 years, and ever since the Great Recession. In fact, many economists said it's a problem when inflation's that low. Then we had a global pandemic and a major crisis and reset everything. And then we've had companies make an extra $2.5 trillion in the last 18 months. Of course, prices have to go up. How do you think they made the extra $2.5 trillion?
Where did it come from? Us.
I mean, it's coming from, higher groceries, higher homes, higher this, higher that. It's not magic. Economics is not, it's not hard to follow. If people want to be mad at these big companies price gouging.
I agree.
Get the federal government to step in and stop the monopolies, stop the price gouging, and everything will be okay.
So, Barb, what are your feelings about that?
Well, I mean, all I keep hearing, because of where I live, it's all Biden's fault. It's all Biden's fault, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. He didn't exactly acquire a country in a good situation. And we still haven't ever heard about all the money that was spent during the Trump administration on the pandemic and how the impact of mismanaging it that's just all, that's just, we're not living in the past anymore. Well, who decided that? The Republicans decided that. And I feel sorry for the people that are living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, just get a little bit of extra money, hopefully from wage increases. Although the people that spent all their money and then they knew they were going to have to pay their rent eventually and didn't plan on that, that's not inflation, gang. That's your money mismanagement. But when you hear, because I drive around a lot, so I do have my radio on, so I can't say that I'm totally not listening. I'm not doing my Sunday morning from 6:30 till 2 in the afternoon anymore. But when is it going to stop? Who can step in? The price of a barrel of oil has been the same for weeks. Why is gas going up 10 cents every 5 days? It's like, why? And but honestly, what can really be done about, what can President Biden do about that? His million barrels of oil, is it a week or whatever he's doing?
Yeah.
That helped for a little bit, but now here we are again, and they're talking about $5 by June. At the rate they're going, we're going to hit it before June, but I don't know. It's upsetting. And we need to put the blame where it really lies.
Yeah.
And the Democrats have got to start talking about the price gouging that all these big companies are doing. And it has nothing to do with the administration.
Yeah.
I think it's time for Biden to call some people to the woodshed and say, okay, this has got to stop.
Okay.
It's not like he doesn't have other things to worry about, but it's just upsetting. But the people that live paycheck to paycheck are suffering again.
Yeah.
And I really don't know what the answer is.
So we're going to take our second break, and then I'll come back and I'll kind of tell you how I feel, and then I'm sure Jenny will correct me. So we'll be back on Coffee Pan Dulce right after this commercial. Hi, I'm Christian Cano. Thank you so much for joining us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. And also thank you so much for watching us on Facebook and on YouTube. But also don't forget, you can actually listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform like Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, and others. Once again, thank you for so much for watching us and listening to us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. Have a great day. Well, welcome back. So this is one of those things that it frustrates the heck out of me, because the Republican Party, I don't understand. First, they're about personal responsibility and limited government and all the things that you hear them, conservatism. And then they want the government to fix things. They want the government to step in and fix things and to protect them. They suddenly become the victims. What about personal responsibility? The way I see it is, and Jenny, tell me how you feel, and you too as well, we're a capitalistic society. The government is not responsible for making baby formula. That's a capitalistic, they are responsible for making baby formula. And Pete Buttigieg, who I'm not a big fan of, said it great this weekend. He said, if you don't want the government making baby formula, that's not what we should be here for. But yet these Republicans are outraged at Biden because we don't make baby formula. And so what about personal responsibility? Just because you can buy, like you said, an $8 cup of coffee doesn't mean you should buy an $8 cup of coffee. Maybe you are living above your means, and it doesn't mean that you have to live like the person next to you. And so that is, I think, one of the big challenges for a lot of people who are. I think if you want to complain about something, you're going to complain about inflation. No matter what, it's something you're going to complain about. It's important. I think this is concerning because people live in paycheck to paycheck. But I also have to remind people that the reason that gallon of milk has gone up from $3.50 to $4 is because you're paying $4. It wouldn't go up if you wouldn't spend the money on it. And so the reason the gas is gone, like I filled up our truck here on Sunday, and then Monday I filled up our Ford, the other car, and it went up 10 cents overnight. And I still filled it up full of gas. And so I'm part of the problem too, because I spent the money, instead of saying, okay, baby, just one car. Go ahead, Jen.
And here's the thing. First of all, again, it's the crying wolf analogy.
Yeah.
Their former guy was an absolute abysmal failure as a president. He obliterated our country. And so when they're claiming this, they don't really want Biden to step in, because they would howl about that too. Everything Biden does, probably the way he puts his socks on, they don't like that either. Yep. So look, we have to be very realistic that everything the Republicans are complaining about since he got inaugurated is for politics. It's he, he's a dirty cheater. He's this, he's that. There's nothing they're going to like about him. So whatever complaints they have, they're not legit. You don't even need to listen to them. For me, I stopped listening to those whiny babies a long time ago and just make fun of them like you're supposed to do, because they're idiots. The average IQ of the leadership of the Republican Party is probably room temperature. I mean, because the stuff they say, if you listen to it, I'm going, are you an adult? Like you're in Congress, like you're sitting in Congress. How did you get that gig? Because it sounds like you barely can breathe. Like your brain barely has enough function to even breathe.
But hey, Jen, haven't we been talking about this like for the last 2 years, and Barb as well? The Republican Party has become the party of just complaining about everything. I mean, I don't know anything that they don't like. I mean, or that they like. They hate everything.
Until we get back to, the 1950s, they're never going to be happy. Until everybody but white men are in control.
And
until they got
bottom line, that's what the whole problem is. They're scared to death.
Yeah.
They're become the minority in what they're saying now, 10 years?
No, not even that long. Like 2026
it's 20
or sooner.
Yeah.
And with our replacement program, it'll be even sooner. I know. I heard there was a shipment coming in right now.
Yeah.
And then individual pods, we're going to roll those out pretty soon. And
that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Hey, but you know what, Jenny, you said.
He's like to say we're going to break out some Jewish space lasers as well. So it's got to the point where I would be embarrassed to be saying this every week. I'd be embarrassed to be a Fox reporter and going up against Jen Psaki, and she just slaps them down every time with logic and reason. Like it's gotten to the point where anybody that believes the crap that rolls out of their mouth, I got no hope for you. I mean, they're literally, we've fought wars over less, and
I think this is, hey Jen, I think this is one of those examples of why I think it maybe also be a cultural thing as well. Because if you come from a family where you respect the advice and the words of your elders and your grandparents or people who've lived through, we don't have that many left, but people who lived through the Great Depression and so forth, then you tell your kids, don't go spending all that money. If you don't have the money, don't, save, take public transportation if you can. Do things that,
Christian, that's not it. That's not why the Republicans are complaining. I mean, they're not complaining because their kids or grandkids are broke. They couldn't give two shits about that.
Sure.
The truth is, they're using this as just an excuse to this is a political thing. This has,
of course, it is.
Situation has happened before when you've had a massive alteration, Spanish flu. This happened in the 1920s. After World War II, we had high inflation. There's been many times in our history where inflationary pressures come, and then typically we adjust things with the Fed and the buy rate, a few other things, and it goes back to normal. This is a very cyclical thing, and it was very predicted. They were saying this in 2020 and 2021. We are going to see some inflationary.
So why is this such a big deal?
But
no, exactly. I was just going to say this.
Does that mean if Trump won the election, there wouldn't have been inflation?
It would have been worse. It would have been worse.
Oh, yeah.
Even if Trump won and it stayed the same, the difference is the Republicans would be saying what's growth.
Exactly. And
it's going to trickle down.
Yes,
they're going to put on our back and tell us it's raining.
What century is trickle down going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things
lifetime.
Hey, y'all, I know our topic's in immigration, but Jenny, you mentioned something on this, and this is kind of with inflation as well. When the people that are complaining about the replacement theory, the immigrants coming here, and so forth, a very simple solution is don't hire them. the reason they're coming here is because you're hiring them. If construction companies and if poultry plants and if they did not want immigrants coming here, they wouldn't hire them. The reason they're coming here is because there's someone willing to pay. So I always find it so interesting that I live in South Charlotte, and I'm not suggesting that, this is the case, but when I go through a lot of areas and neighborhoods, no, very few people cut their grass where we live. And many of those individuals are offering very low rates to cut the grass. And the reason is because they probably have low overhead and they may not have all of the same requirements someone else has. And it's because you're not asking them for a W-2 form or for, you're just going, all right, you're only going to charge $200 a month. That's great because I was paying $300 a month, And the reason they're coming here is because people are hiring them. I'm not saying don't hire them. I'm just saying is that we can't say, I don't want them coming here, but then complain about restaurants not having enough workers. So it's right.
Chris, when you have people, because economics is a science. It's a study of the economy and all the moving parts. And we have a very complicated economy, a very developed economy. But there's a couple universal truths. If you have major industries, like when I'm going to pick on three: the petroleum industry, the auto industry, and the housing market. If you got major housing Wall Street firms buying up millions of homes, and this has been going on for a while, and you're doing nothing about it, don't complain about rents and mortgages going up. If you were really that worried about gas prices, why haven't we been working on clean alternatives? Like, we've been talking about this since Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
So I remember sitting in fourth grade social studies class in 1979 talking about gas prices and how we need to do green alternatives.
That's true.
When I worked in the auto industry in the mid to late 90s. They were coming out with hybrids and green alternatives because gas prices went up because of the Gulf War.
Yep.
Now we're sitting here in 2022, and now I'm a half century old. And we're still having the same discussion that I had when I was sitting in the fourth grade social studies class in 1979 when Jimmy Carter was president, and he put solar panels on the White House. And we thought the world was going to end because Jimmy Carter, ahead of his time, way too smart for us, way too smart to be president, I can just tell you that, and was thinking ahead. And we've been talking about getting off oil dependency forever. And we don't have to be dependent on oil. We don't need petroleum products as much as we use. We can use hemp alternatives. There's tons of alternatives. All these issues have to do with mismanagement and unhinged capitalism.
I agree.
We did this. This is what led to the Great Recession under W, is that we look the other way as these mortgage companies come up with all these cockamamie, crazy, don't pay now, you'll pay later. When all those balloon notes came to do, guess what? Most people said, here's your house back. We had double-digit unemployment, and houses sitting all over the place. And we also had the auto industry, the domestic auto industry, that mismanaged their portfolios for decades. I worked in that industry, and they collapsed in 2007 and 2008. Why was that?
Okay. Well, hey, Barb and Jen, one of the things that I know we talked about this kind of very briefly on a show, a couple of shows, I can't remember which one, but we talked about also what was really important that people need to pay aware of is what they call shrinkflation. Remember we talked about that, shrinkflation, where you have a pack of toilet paper that what companies have been doing over the last 2 years, it may be longer than that. They have taken like so many sheets off of each roll, which means you actually get one whole less roll than you did 2 years ago. But however, you're still paying the same price. So Yeah, it's shrinkflation. People, every once in a while, and this has been going on for a long time, companies will redesign their bottle or their packages. Instead of 10 ounces, it'll be 8 ounces, and you don't really notice that unless you are actually looking at it. And so shrinkflation has been going around as well, but they don't complain about that. But I guess.
But again, I don't know who needs 20 ounces of soda at a time. And some of this is based on the market demand and studies. So some of this is what I like to call affectionately shit in the shoebox. Is that it really doesn't mean anything, and it doesn't really, like, some of this stuff is more just whininess and people over. I'm not saying you're being whiny, but you typically are, Christian. But anyway, a lot of this is that we haven't managed our economy well. We have not planned for the future well. That's why we're melting down our planet. Mm-hmm. And a lot of this would correct itself if we just did the right thing. And the Great Depression was completely avoidable. The Great Recession, completely avoidable. And this current turmoil was completely avoidable. Well, so you get what you get when you elect and hire a jackass for a president that took us out of the Kyoto Accord, took us out of all the green stuff, took us off all that stuff. They just said, no big deal. These elections matter.
Hey, Jen, let's take our last break.
Okay.
Speaking of Jen, she actually leads a show that comes on 25 or 30 minutes after this one. It is called Two Queers in a Truck, and this next commercial will tell you to watch it. So we'll be right back.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. Bye.
All right, well, welcome back. And what I was going to say was that same Forbes article that came out in 2021, they were talking about inflation then, expected. They said that most economists believe that inflation that they expect, which we're in now, because that article was almost a year old, that they said that they fully expect us to come out of it in 2023. And so that is one of the things that I don't know that I haven't heard, other than politicians, and especially Republicans, I haven't heard any economist saying, I'm concerned about inflation right now. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not important, but it just seems like.
So one of the things.
Isn't the Fed going to raise interest rates again?
They did last week.
Okay.
Yeah. And here's one of the things. First of all, this is one of the most important things. So some inflation is very important to the economy because it indicates growth to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. It also increases revenue for the federal tax, our friendly IRS folks. And that helps pay down our debt. One of the biggest things that Republicans and Joe Manchin all of a sudden is really worried about our debt, even though they've spent $30 trillion on weapons, is that the reality is that we do need to pay down the debt. And there's an economic model that is part of the Build Back Better plan that if we follow along this plot, will literally, if we just make a few budget cuts and make a few things that'll keep stimulating the economy, we'll actually grow our way out of debt, grow our way out of hard times, and our economy will actually balance out by 2030 and cut our national debt down by half.
Hey, Jen, but you said it was exactly correct. Don't you think, y'all, whenever we hear, not just politicians, but if we hear a neighbor of ours talking about inflation, I mean, I think maybe our response should be, what do you think we should do? If Republicans, if they're complaining about Biden, what do you think Trump would have done differently? That's really, exactly. And this is equivalent to the Affordable Care Act. They complained about Obamacare, but they didn't have
and where's their health
option? Exactly. And so I think this is one of those things that because they're going to do it all summer long to take the focus off of other things, that we should say, okay, what do you plan to do?
There's a truth to that.
They're not talking about it in any of the campaigning they're doing. They're just complaining and insulting people. What's your plan?
Yeah.
Trump didn't have one, and none of these guys have one. The few that I've heard. You did it, but what are you going to do after you get elected? They're not telling you.
Well, and if you have situations like this, reset the corporate tax rate back to what it was pre-Trump.
Yep.
Enact a windfall tax. So when they price gouge, take 50% of the price gouge. You can set that to a certain state or percentage of deal, and you can kick in a windfall tax. Most of all, unearned income, aka the stock market, we need to be taking a little sliver of each stock trade.
Don't talk about my stocks.
Income, it won't affect the stock market,
I know.
but every one of those transactions should have a duty put on.
Yeah, I'm long term.
If you put those three things on there, it's not going to hurt the economy, but it's also going to pump money into our deals to pay down the debt, pay off student loans, jumpstart wages, set the wage bottom way higher than a 7.25. Yeah. If you do those things and you do those basics, not only will we'll have more government money freed up because as we get people off all these assistance programs because their incomes go up to a livable wage at the end of the decade, just like what happened in the 1990s. Wages under Clinton went up, government went down, we balanced the budget, we right-sized our military, and it was the economy stupid. It was booming by the time that dummy nuts W got elected. And then, of course, he had two economic bubbles and the Great Recession. That's what happens when you elect Republicans. Republicans can't manage a lemonade stand at a fourth grade dance, okay, much less the economy.
This is kind of what I know we talk about this a lot, but this is this is kind of how, because this inflation thing has been kind of politically politicized and they're talking, and I know that's what they're going to be talking about. That we gave away all this free money, which is not free. It was our own tax money. So I don't know why we have to beg for our own money back during a hard time. We give it to corporations that don't pay zero taxes.
And give it to other countries.
Exactly. Give it to other countries.
Well, most of the giveaway money went to businesses.
Yeah, exactly. Most the big chunk of it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, the majority of it, like 60%. So
right. That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
Nobody crapped their pants about the 60% of the money that we gave away to corporations that didn't even need it as they were rising prices and firing employees. And buying their stock back, and they're going to make a ton of money off that.
Everything they weren't supposed to do with the money is what they did.
Correct. And they begrudge us because they gave us an extra couple $100 a kid, or gave us some unemployment insurance because they're the ones that wrecked our freaking health system because they let COVID run wild because we were afraid of mass vaccines. So the reality is yes, growth is good. Unchecked growth due to price gouging is bad, but there's some simple fixes. The tax system's a great equalizer. The Fed is a great equalizer. Jimmy Jarris, the mortgage rates up 2 or 3 points. It'll slow down those corporate buying of the houses. I can tell you, if the interest rates goes back up to mid-90s rates, like 7, 8, 9%. You'll hear the air brakes on these corporate buys. It'll sound like a Jake brake on a big old truck.
So I guess for me, what I was going to say, Jen, is that, and this is kind of the message I'm going to be sharing like all summer long. If we are in inflation, if we're in COVID, whatever the emergency is that we have to deal with, I want the best and the brightest to work on it. So if we do go into whatever the situation is, let's just talk about inflation. I would rather have someone like Biden who hires competent, qualified economists and people to address it than someone like Trump who hires people who write a book about him after he fires them. And so when you're talking,
they honestly had no idea what they were doing.
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, Barb, and you too, Jen.
I disagree with that. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Okay.
But
I meant for the jobs that they had no idea how to do jobs.
Wait, hold on. I think Jen did this.
We elect our president to run the executive branch. Trump got elected to make money, and he did
exactly.
And his idiot son-in-law is still making money off it because that's how their gravy train runs. I mean, it's gravy gravy train team number 6 right there. I mean,
Bad news is he didn't improve his golf game any either. He just doesn't know how to play golf
Well,
so
correctly.
golfer ever. I win every tournament I go into.
oh gosh, Jen, those of us who live in North Carolina, we have heard back to back commercials of Trump endorsing this Ted Budd guy, his guy. And oh my gosh, the voice of Trump going, he is best for North Carolina. He is this. It is the most annoying. It is.
But that's why I only watch Freeman TV.
Mute.
What
I get
was
all
that?
my news from Twitter.
That's okay.
I
So you don't have to listen.
mostly foreign feeds. I listen to Al Jazeera. I listen to ones that have no skin in the game and don't worry about what idiot mouth breathers like Fox News say. And most of all, I don't ever turn on I've had my car since 2016. I never turned on my radio since I bought it.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if the radio even works anymore because first of all, it's not the 1920s anymore.
Yeah.
They invented this thing called.
Hey, don't make fun of radio. We may be on it soon.
Well, I mean, we're on it now. That's what a podcast
That's right.
is. I mean,
That's it. Exactly. That's right.
just in case the big, rich, dummy companies listening right now,
Yes.
I love radio. I love radio. Send some money here. I'm a poor transfer.
Hey, we'll take a My Pillow sponsorship.
Oh, not yet. No, wait, not
I'm
yet.
joking. I'm joking. But it's from the best cotton in the world in the Giza.
That dude doesn't even know what Giza is. He probably thinks it's gizzards from chicken.
So if you watch that commercial, I know we've gone way off script, but if you're listening to this, if you watch that My Pillow commercial, he talks about people are trying to cancel him, even banks. Remember he says that? And then he goes, and I'm breaking in. He breaks into his own commercial and says, I'm breaking in to tell you, we're offering these pillows in a special sale, plus the Giza. And it shows, he talks about where it's between here and the Nile River. It looks like a uterus. Maybe he's pro-choice and that's his secret message. I don't know. All right. So let's wind down the show. I've completely gone off here. So let's go around the Brady Bunch screen. Tell us where you're going to be in 30 seconds or less, and then we'll talk about we'll just briefly talk about the summer shows. So Jen, where are you going to be in the next week?
Actually, I don't have too many plans. I'm still recovering from running the film festival over the last 5 days. So I'm going to be taking it pretty easy, just working. And I do have my gaming event at Bar Argonne this Sunday, May 22nd at 4:00. I do have that going on. But other in Charlotte, with Bar Argonne. So, I mean, if you do live in Los Angeles, it's a little far of a commute. but if you happen to be in the greater Charlotte area, and you want to come out and play video games or just hang out, we're at Bar Argonne at 4:00 on this Sunday.
All right, Barb.
Actually, I have the week off. I am so happy. I'm going to get my yard work done. This is the first day I was able to be outside for more than an hour because of pollen. The pollen seems to be. I put one table outside, it's glass, and I left it out there Saturday and Sunday, and there was like hardly any pollen. I'm like, yes. So now I can clean up my yard.
Now we just have to deal with the humidity.
I'm mad at myself. I usually am done by now, and I've just started. So this is the worst allergy season I've ever experienced, ever. And when you have golfers saying, God bless you, Barb, because I'm in my yard and I'm sick.
Oh, I forgot you live on a golf course.
Yep. So it's just, but that's all I'm going to do.
Okay. All right. Well, I will. Yeah, I'm actually not camping this weekend. We are actually staying home. We are doing some yard work as well, some cleaning up, getting ready for the summer. And then Memorial Day weekend is next week. So speaking of the last show of this month is going to be next week. And our topic is paying for sports stadiums. Should it be owners or taxpayers? This is really relevant for those of us who live in Charlotte, North Carolina, because we believe the Panthers may be looking for a new stadium in the next year or so. It'll be interesting. And our summer schedule has come out for June, July, and August, and we'll post that on our Facebook page so you can take a look. And I'm not going to go over those. But June, we've got some really good ones, like we're going to talk about marriage equality. It happened 7 years ago. We'll look at, did the world collapse? Remember, everyone was telling us if marriage equality happens, the world is going to collapse.
It's
It
just
didn't.
criminal debauchery and
Yep.
oh my God.
That's right.
Yeah. Didn't
And
happen.
then we'll also, and then we'll also talk about, I'm sure this summer we'll be busy with the Supreme Court rulings and the Summer of Rage, which I think that's what they're calling all the marches this summer.
Yeah.
So that's basically it. Anyone else want to say anything else before we close down?
You think of anything?
Well, this has been a good show.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week. Don't forget to stay tuned to Two Queers in a Truck that drops 30 minutes after this one on Wednesday. And Jen, you want to say bye for us and I'll play the music?
Bye, y'all. Thanks for watching or listening. And without y'all, we wouldn't have a show.
Bye.
Great
See you next week.
Bye.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching. We got Memorial Day rolling up here pretty soon. And then summer and Pride Month. So thanks for watching and tune in next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Next up, thanks for watching Coffee Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.